Hey guys, Megan Barker here. Thanks for joining us on the Jammie Cam. Today we have my buddy Jeff Cohen. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
We actually have a live audience. You guys can clap. That would be really cool if you clapped on camera. Thank you. All right.
I did not know this was a public interview.
We just wing it, man. We just wing it.
Okay.
Jeff Cohen is a songwriter, musician, producer, publisher, all-around music biz expert, and we're so excited to chat with you. Man, you worked at BMI for like a decade. I kind of want to hear a little bit about that, if you don't mind. What was that like?
It was great. I mean, when I graduated college, I wrote to every record company in New York.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think I was good enough as a singer or a guitar player, but I thought I knew what was good, and I wanted to try to find like the next U2. Yeah. So I wrote to every label to try to be a secretary, and no one wrote me back.
Is there more?
Yeah. So I went to a temp agency, and they had a temp job to be a secretary to a secretary for $16,000 at a company I'd never heard of called BMI, and it was in the collection department.
Oh, wow.
So I interviewed, and I said, if I do really well, can I go into the music department? And they said, probably not. And I said, okay, I'll take the job.
At least they're honest.
And she goes, I didn't offer it to you.
You're very, you're a go-getter.
I went out every single night to see music.
Wow.
6, 7 nights a week in New York City.
Wow.
And then I met the guy who was the guy, kind of the director of the music department, and I just said, I'm out every night, I'll scout for free for you, I'll come do paperwork, and if a job opens, please consider me for an interview. And he did 6 months later, and I got it.
Wow. Man, you put in 6 weeks of like free work for him though, huh?
About a year.
Wow. Man, that's inspiring. That's hustle right there. That's hustle. Most of our viewers are people working their way into the music business. What is the best way to develop a relationship with a PRO like that?
To develop with a PRO? I mean, from a writer perspective, to meet someone? Mm-hmm. Well, I think number one, find out who the person at the PRO does or appreciates the kind of music you do. Okay. Set up a meeting. Mm-hmm. And build the relationship. Don't go in there with guns blazing. Mm-hmm. Build the relationship, and remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And go in there. Do not bombard them. Mm-hmm. Play them maybe a few songs that are your best, and go in there with a focus. If you go in there saying, "Get me a record deal" or "Get me a publishing deal," you're going to freak them out.
Right.
Go in there and just either get some opinions on the songs, ask if there's anyone that they feel you might be able to co-write with. Are there any things going on in town that maybe would be beneficial to you to be at, to meet other people, and basically you'll get someone on your team. And then the more they get to know you, they'll start offering things to do.
So just be humble and
basically,
patient. Yeah. What is your favorite moment of your career thus far?
Wow. I'd say...
Or one of them, I guess.
Let's see. From my BMI side or from a writer side?
Your whole career. What's the coolest,
oh my God.
one of your coolest moments? That's
now that I'm in my late 20s, I've been doing this for a while. Okay, I'll give you one of each. From the career side would be my friend having me show up in a small club in New York City. I would say it's a tie. It would be my roommate came home one night and said he was quitting his job. He was really upset. And I said, please don't quit your job. You actually have a salary. I was making seriously 16 or 18 by that time. So I took him down to a small blues bar in New York City. We were living in Jersey at the time because we couldn't afford New York. And we had a few drinks. And I remember watching this band, and it blew me away. And I went up to the guy, and I'm like, hey, I'm Jeff from BMI. Did you write these songs? He goes, yeah, I did. And I go, have you protected these songs? And he goes, do you mean, did I write them while I was wearing a condom? And I go, listen, man, here's my card. I'm not working tonight. I've already got the name of your band. I'll come to your next show in a suit. But if you have any questions, I think these songs are really good. I think your band is amazing live. I'd love to try to help you guys. I don't know what I can do, but maybe there is. And he called me the next day. I took him to lunch, and I ended up finding a band called the Spin Doctors.
Oh my God.
And that was
Yeah,
ended up becoming really best friends with a lot of the guys in the band, and was in their wedding. It was fun. And the other one was definitely finding and signing Jeff Buckley was good.
Oh, yes, you can clap for that. That's amazing.
Yeah, that was
Holy
good.
cow.
But
Okay.
I'd say on the writing side, it's an odd one. And it's not, I've been very lucky to work with some cool people, but my mom and dad, my dad loves opera and classical. And I didn't know there was other music until I was like 9. But I was very lucky that artists like the Irish Tenors and Josh Groban did some of my songs. And I got to take my mom and dad to Madison Square Garden to see Josh Groban. And I got to take them backstage. And I introduced my mom to Josh Groban. And I was like, Mom, this is Josh. And she just froze. She froze. It was awesome. And then my dad stepped in and goes, Josh, Jeff has a lot of other songs you should do. And I'm like, Dad, be cool, man. Be cool. I'm not going to be able to take you backstage anymore.
That might be my favorite story I've heard.
That was
so
fun.
Sweet. Oh my goodness. I was hoping you were going to say your career highlight was playing Jammin' and Jammies, but it's fine.
Well, I haven't played yet.
It's
I haven't.
Wow.
Who knows? This night,
the night is young.
can be like any other, maybe never like none other night.
Okay, so Jeff has had song placements in TV shows like Dawson's Creek, which, it's my childhood right there. Dawson's Creek, Party of Five, One Tree Hill, The Simpsons, Saturday Night Live, Smallville, Reba, so many more. Do you have any suggestions for people on how to get into the sync world and get placements?
Well, yeah, it's changed a lot. When I started, I quit my job when I was 33, and at that point, those shows were just getting going. Back then, because I wrote by myself, so I wrote 100% by myself, and I did the demos myself, so I was kind of like a one-stop for them. So what I did was, when I quit my job, I flew out to LA, and I found out back then there was a cocktail party once a month with the music supervisors.
Wow.
And what I did was I went there and I just hung out. I didn't bring any music. I didn't give anyone music. I got a few cards. I think I wrote about 12 people the next day saying, great to meet you. I plan on coming out to LA again next month. Can I drop some songs by with you? I had no plan on going to LA the next month. And I figured if a few people wrote me back, I'd go. 3 people wrote me back.
Awesome.
So I saved up. I booked a trip out there. I stayed on my friend's couch. And I dropped off a CD with 3 songs. And then what I did was I made a CD and I gave it to all my friends. And I just said, play it for anyone, give it to anyone. And one of my friends, while I was on that trip, was at a party with someone from the WB network. And she was complaining that she was bored with some of the stuff she was listening to, and he ran to the car, got my CD, and gave it to her.
Oh, man, what a good friend.
And 2 weeks later, I had the theme for Jack and Jill.
Oh, my God. Woo!
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So sometimes it's luck.
Having a theme song, man, that's truly incredible.
But to answer your question, so it can maybe help some people, there are companies right now. See, back then, it was cool to be kind of like a maverick or do it on your own. I would show up in LA every 3 or 4 months, and I'd show up with a Starbucks or a coffee bean, actually, out West Coast. I'd show up with a coffee bean, and I would just hang. And I would play like 5 new songs, and usually a few of them were picked up. Or I got into a groove where they would call me saying, hey, like One Tree Hill, when I did that, I had a wonderful relationship with them, Desperate Housewives, Ed. But what happened was then I kind of lost the plot a little bit and started getting really caught up in writing with bands and being on the road, that I kind of put the songwriting and the TV film to the side. Mm-hmm. During that time, all these companies popped up, like your Secret Road, Sorted Noise, Zinc, who I think just got bought. But I mean, a bunch of companies that represent like all music, they're great. A lot of these companies represent catalogs, and what happened was the industry shift did that it's a lot easier for them just to call this company that represents all this catalog saying, I need a sad song that sounds like this. Boom, they've got it. So what I have to do now is I have to actually kind of stay on top of it even more now that I'm back and doing a little more TV sync.
Yeah.
And I still have some people that I have relationships with. But again, it goes back to relationships. And I think you have to be there to if you're not going to be there, you need someone who is there or someone who has a connection with them.
It's all about who you know.
Making
Making friends.
It's all about who you know and coming through with the right product.
Sure.
So, a lot of times you can have an amazing song, it's just not right for a placement.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean the song's not good, and it could also be bad timing. But, but I think either if you're prepared to go out there and try to establish relationships, that's one thing, but it's not that easy and it's expensive. So it might not be a bad move. If I was starting right now and I didn't have these relationships, I would probably do my due diligence and check out people who are good sync people and perhaps align with someone, even if it's just for 2 years or 3 year, or do a trial basis with them and try to get someone there. I think the more I do this, the more I realize how valuable it is to have good teammates. And I didn't realize that early in my career.
Yeah. This is invaluable information, you guys. It's awesome. Thank you so much. Couple more questions. You've also written songs for like the band Perry, Sugarland, Big and Rich. What's the best songwriting advice you've ever gotten or you could give?
Actually sit down with your guitar or your piano, and to me that's the hardest part of writing is actually sitting down and doing it.
Making the time for
it. And letting all the noise go away. And I think for me, I quit my job, as I said, at 33 because I used to do it for fun and I loved doing it, and I realized that I could not do it.
Yeah.
And I thought I was getting okay at it, and I didn't want to look back and say I didn't try. So for me, I think know what you do well, try to push yourself, push your boundaries a little, and I think just try to be as honest and as real as you can. I mean, like to me, most of the biggest songs I've had, I wrote either by myself or I wrote at night at like 2 a.m. about something I never thought anyone was going to hear. Without sounding dumb. I'd come home and I had a crush on someone and I wrote a song and I didn't even think.
That's so relatable, though.
Well, yeah, because it was true.
It was real.
Yeah.
It was raw. If you could collaborate with anybody, who would it be? Dead or alive?
Well, it's interesting because I got a chance to meet my hero, songwriting hero, a few times, and he has invited me to his studio, and I have not taken him up on this to write because there's a part of me that wants to be cool and wants to be like, I've had a few good dinners with you. You've left tickets for me for concerts in London and Nashville, and you're always so nice to me when you see me. Jackson Browne.
Oh!
And the guy from the Spin Doctors was coming with us because apparently I was in a duo with the guy from the Spin Doctors, and we did a record. Once he got an offer to tour and do that, I didn't want to tour and be in a band, so we switched it. We made the name of the duo into the album title, and we made it a solo record for him. And he was in Spain touring, and I was supposed to go, but I had actually just bought an apartment in Nashville, and the construction people had messed some things up, so I had to come down here. Contractors had put something in the wrong place. It was bad. Oh. So I had to cancel my trip to Spain to tour with Chris, and Chris called me and goes, "You're not going to believe I'm opening for this band, and Jackson Browne's best friends with this artist." And I'm like, I'm not going to say what I was going to say because we're on camera, but it started with an F and it ended with a K. And we ended up, so Chris told Jackson about me. I go to dinner in LA. Chris is late, his girlfriend's late. It's just me and him for like 20 minutes. And did you ever see that movie with Steve Martin or Eddie Murphy where he's like, be cool, keep it together, be cool, be cool. That's all I was going through my head was be cool, keep it together, be cool.
Did you manage to?
Absolutely. I just asked him questions and let him talk.
That's the smart thing to do.
And he had some good stories.
I bet.
He could not have been nicer, and he's been so super nice to me every time that I almost brought him in on this record I'm doing in London right now with the artist is signed to Warner Brothers, and I almost brought him in to work with Sugarland. I was going to bring Christian over there to write with him, or Jen, but I just thought if I call him to do something, and this is actually good advice for songwriters. Yeah. For example, there are certain writers I want to write with in town, certain artists I want to write with. Maybe those people on the party bus out there. But to me, even though I know one-on-one, I would probably write an amazing song with this writer or this artist. I know right now the space that they're in and the momentum that they have, they either probably have their own crew or their publishers are like, let's put them with the hot, right. person like that. So what I try to do is I try to think, what makes it more attractive for that artist or that writer to want to write with me? And I know sometimes it could be just, well, yeah, I've done pretty well. But I think, put myself in their shoes. Like, for example, let's say I wanted to write with Kelsey Ballerini, who's doing great.
Right.
Would Kelsey and I've met her a few times, would we write a great song together? Yeah, absolutely we would. But her people are probably not going to let that happen right now. So my attitude is, well, who do I know that I work with that she might want to work with that would be good for her to meet up with them, and they would be pretty psyched to work with her. So maybe I'll call like a Cara DioGuardi, or I'll call a Sasha, someone who's got stuff going on that might be attractive to her. So like with someone like Jackson Browne, because I do know him, I probably could call him and do that because I think he's so above everything that either wants to write or he doesn't. I think if he wants to do it, he'll do it. He doesn't give a shit if I bring someone in.
Right.
But I would be like, hey, I'd love to write with you. Here's a band that's signed, that has stuff going on. This could be good for you also.
That's brilliant. It's brilliant. You really think things through.
It's a business. It's the
I was going to say.
It's the music business, it's not the music fraternity party.
You're good at this.
Well, sometimes. Yeah, sometimes I'm not.
I have to ask what you think of the Music Modernization Act everyone's talking about and where you think the industry is going.
Well, I mean, I'm on the board of NSAI,
right.
and I've been up to D.C. 3 times now to lobby, play for congressmen and senators, and
thank you, dinners. Man. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Well, there are a lot of people that have done much more than I have. I mean, I work very closely with Bart Herberson and Jennifer over at NSAI, and I mean, these guys are warriors. I mean, what they do for songwriters, if these guys don't get like a plaque in the Songwriters Hall of Fame, I mean...
At least.
Yeah, what these guys do is phenomenal. What do I think? I mean, honestly, I think the last 10 years have been the freaking dark ages. I mean, like, I saw the way the royalties went from here to there. It's increasingly difficult to be a songwriter. It's you. But having said that, you could look at it as glass half full or glass half empty. And the glass is not filled to the rim by any means. But there are other avenues, there are other lanes you can do now that weren't available then. So I think what you have to do is just try to be a little bit more creative on how you focus your time. And I think that, like, for example, and I tell people this, if you want to sit in 7 days a week, try to write a song to try to get a Carrie Underwood cut or Keith Urban cut, to me that's like playing the lottery. And you have a better chance of winning the lottery. Now,
absolutely,
you can do that, but do other stuff too.
Yeah.
Book shows or book things or try to write for TV Sync. Do some private gigs, do some house concerts, do some, get involved, do some, there's so many different things you can do. Also, these days, you can release your own song. You don't have to make a record. You can put a single out, get behind it, try to get it out there. I mean, and the bottom line is, as much as I hate this, people do look at streams and social media and all that shit. So, I mean, learn how to do social media. I know one friend in town. We were in London together, and we were working, and these two girls came up to us. We were at a concert, and this girl's like, "Oh my God, you're so-and-so," to him. She's like, "Oh my God, you're like one of the biggest writers in America." And I'm sitting there, standing there, and then I'm just chilling out. And she goes, "Hi, and who are you?" And I'm like, "Oh, hi, I'm Jeff," whatever. And she goes, "Oh my God, do you get to write with him?" And he just started laughing and goes, "I tried to get to write with Jeff for 3 years, and this guy's probably been on about 30 million more records than I have." And she looked straight-faced and looked at me and goes, "I've never seen anything on your Instagram or Facebook." And she goes, "This guy has 1 million songs on the radio." And I'm thinking to myself, he has one song ever on the radio.
Wow.
Perception.
It's all hype. It's all hype.
And I'm not advocating it.
Right.
But unfortunately,
It's the world we live in right now.
yeah.
Your Instagram's great, by the way.
And I don't post much. I think I have, 18 posts in 7 years or 8 years? I'm really bad at it, I know that, but I'm a hell of a lot older than everyone, and I'm just not really good at it.
You're on it. That's all that matters.
Yeah, I'm on it, and usually the bands I work with, if it helps them, I'll put something up.
Amen.
And I need to get better at it too. And the thing is, everyone needs to get better, no matter what you're doing, whether it's the writing side, whether it's the
Amen.
business side. And I mean, I'm taking the month of August to really try to reevaluate. I still have some rights booked, but I'm really trying to reevaluate what the next moves are, because the way that it was is not working completely. You can't do it the way it used to work. You need to be really innovative and creative and treat it like a business.
Well, we appreciate you leading the pack and trying to help us all figure out what we're doing next. Thanks, guys. It's awesome. All right. Quick, rapid-fire questions real quick to end things. Are you ready? All right. Do you like a serious song or a funny song?
I tend to like more serious songs, but I will say this. One of the major acts I worked with said to me when we were writing one day and said, "Look, Jeff, it's cool. Some songs change your life, but some songs change your life for 3 minutes, and that's okay."
I love that. Words we can all live by. I think they like you.
Oh, well, no, it's a good crowd. I seriously thought it was just going to be you and me just doing a quick question.
I did too, and then everyone showed up.
I didn't know we were having
They heard Jeff was coming and
public
they
interview.
pounded down the doors.
No, I don't
All
know
right,
about
is
that.
it pronounced pajama or pajama?
Or I grew up, what was that? Did someone say something?
From the crowd, pajama or pajama? Oh, it's 50-50.
Yeah, I mean, where I grew up, it was pajama.
Fine, we'll allow it. Do you like breakfast food in the morning or at night?
I like breakfast food all the time.
Yeah, that's the right answer. All right, slippers or fuzzy socks?
I don't own either.
Oh, come on. All right, and our catchphrase is "Get your Jammie on." So I was wondering if we can wrap things up by saying it together on the count of 3.
You got it.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Let's say it to the camera. 1, 2, 3.
Get your Jammie on.
Woo! Thank you so much, Jeff Cohen, everybody.
Cool, thanks.
Woo!
Cool.
Well, that was easy.
That was good?
Yeah, that was awesome.
Okay,
Thank you
cool.
so much.